I am so excited to be here talking with my sister from another mister, Miss Robin Lee. So, okay, I am first supposed to say who Robin is. We all know who Robin is. I really know who Robin is, but I'm gonna read her bio real quick. Robin Lee is an actor, writer, producer, and author of the worldwide smash novel, The Idea of You. A graduate of Yale University and Columbia Law School, Robin has numerous acting credits in both television and film, most notably opposite Will Smith in both Hitch and 7 Pounds. She currently lives in Paris with her husband and 2 children, and I'm not jealous at all. Hi, Robin! Hi! So I guess first I want to ask, how many people have read The Idea of You?
Oh, come on.
I know you have. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the book, your inspiration, the adaptation, how it left us all gasping for air because it broke our hearts and yet lifted them at the same time. But first, let's talk about how we know each other. Because we kind of go way back at this point.
Yes.
To 2017.
2017, summer of 2017.
Summer of 20, it was your birthday, right? Right before,
then, yeah.
Yeah, July.
And The Idea of You was coming out. And on Facebook, I had at least 2 different friends mention Tia to me. Like completely unrelated people. So I have a friend, you guys would get along so well. She's another Black woman who is an author. You guys have daughters the same age. You have all this very similar interests. You write like about fashion and beauty. We'd worked at the same place.
We both worked at Elle.
We both worked at Elle magazine. And we just had these multi-layered things in common. And I kept hearing her name, and somehow it just like, it clicked that like, oh, this is the same person that people keep recommending, and we made it happen.
Yes, and we also had books that are sisters.
Yes, so we both seem to have this, a bit of an infatuation with writing about love stories with older women and younger men.
Yeah, because the year before I had written The Perfect Find, which is about a 40-year-old woman who falls in love with a 22-year-old man, and The Idea of You is what?
A 40-year-old woman who falls in love with a 20-year-old man.
Right. So we share a brain.
It's legal. It's legal.
It is legal. How does your daughter feel about that? Because mine does not love it.
So my daughter was about 5 years old when I was writing the book, and she's been begging to read the book for the last 3 years or so. She started getting into reading seriously during the pandemic and reading romance. And she's like, I think I'm ready to read your book. And you know, she was like 12, 13. I was like, no, you're not. Okay, when you're 16, you can read the book. And then the movie was coming out. And she's 15 now, and I told her, you know what? I want you to read the book. If you're going to read the book, I want you to read it before you see the movie. I always feel like, read the book before you see the movie. And she was so excited that I bumped up her time frame a year. And she started it, and she was enjoying it. And then she got to a point, and when I say recently, it was like 4 days ago, that she stopped reading it. And I was like, how is it going? What are you up to? She's like, I can't go anymore. I said, what happened? She said, I just keep picturing you and Daddy. This is why I told you it was going to be difficult. It's not like reading another author. It's your mom.
Right.
But she started reading it again. She texted me something this morning, and it's like, oh, you're back to reading, are you?
You're braver than I am. Oh, I can't.
Yeah, it's a doozy.
It is a doozy. It is a doozy. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what drew you to becoming a writer, because you've had a lot of different career paths, a lot of different interests. When did the writing bug hit you?
So, I mean, I think like you, I've always written. I can't remember a time when I didn't think of myself as a writer.
Yeah.
In like 3rd grade, I started keeping a journal, like just writing like my diary, and I was very religious from like age 8 to 28. Like I was writing every day. But I also started in 3rd grade keeping a book of like I'd write short stories, and then those became like, I'd also write poetry, and then I'd write like short essays and fictional interviews with my favorite bands and things like that. And then I would write books. I wrote my first book when I was 14 by hand, It was 884 pages.
Oh my God.
And I only shared it with maybe 3 or 4 people. It's now in a box in the guest room in Paris. And then I wrote a follow-up, and that was about 1,200 pages before I said, you know, I don't think I'm going to finish this one. And I put that back in the box. And then I started another one when I was in law school. And that's now it's just a file on my computer. But I kept like writing for myself. It was always something I did for pleasure. And then I took great writing course. I took this incredible writing course in college. At Yale, there's a course called Daily Themes. And when I was, I don't know, maybe a junior at Yale, I'd read, give me a second, Tom Wolfe's Bonfire of the Vanities. And in the acknowledgments, he mentions that he took this course at Yale, Daily Themes, and I was like, I'm going to go back and take that my senior year. I'm going to take that. So that was like a really big deal. And they make
What is that Daily Theme?
you have to submit a piece of work to be accepted into the program, and then it's like 1 day a week, I think, is a lecture, and then 5 days a week you're turning in an actual piece of writing, an essay, and it's very specific. Like all the assignments are very specific, and then you sit down with your TA once a week, and then she critiques it, and so like I felt like this was my way of like being very serious about my writing. But still, I took all these detours afterwards. I went to law school, etc.
Small detour, law school.
Small detour. But it was just something I did for fun. And then I spent, as an actor, I've been acting professionally for almost 30 years now, which is insane. But in acting, you're always waiting for permission, for someone to give you permission to express your art, to express your craft. And it can be very frustrating. There are a lot of auditions and a lot of rejection, and you're just waiting and waiting for the opportunity to do something. And so writing was what I did creatively to kind of express myself, and that I could control, like something I could sit down at my laptop at the beginning of the day, and at the end of the day have something to show for it, which was not like acting, like waiting, for a film. And so it was my refuge. It was something I did for fun. And then I spent about 6 years writing a book that I couldn't sell. And then for 2 years after that, I just didn't write. I was too heartbroken. And then I got the idea for The Idea of You. And I thought, okay, I'm gonna write this book. I'm gonna do a really great job, but I'm gonna crank it out as quickly as possible because I cannot lose another 6 years writing something no one's gonna care about, no one's ever gonna see. So when I had the idea for The Idea of You, I literally, I got the idea and I started writing it like the next day. I was already thinking of like the characters, like who the band was going to be, who the guy was going to be, who the woman was, what was going to be her profession. And so I was writing as I was researching because I knew she was going to be in the art world. I knew nothing about the art world, but I knew the opening scenes didn't matter so much about that. So I was like researching and reading books about the art while I was writing them, meeting backstage and all of that good stuff. And so I wrote it really quickly. The book takes place in real time, sort of, so I started writing in April 2014, and the story starts in April 2014. And I never wanted to be more than 3 months behind in the actual timeline. So I finished my first real draft in July of 2015. And the book takes place over the course of a year.
Wow.
And I spent about 3 months editing, doing revisions. And I was editing as I went on, but it was really intense for 3 months. And then I sent it to an agent that a friend of mine recommended or introduced me to in October, mid-October. I sent it to him on a Thursday. On Monday, he called me and said, "This is incredible, and this is why I want to represent you, and these are all the reasons why." And it was like, this never happens, right?
It never
happens.
That is very rare.
And then he spent a few weeks, maybe a month or so, doing notes. And then he gave me my notes the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, and I freaked out because it was it was all these changes he wanted to make, and I was like, I thought you loved the book. I don't understand. What do you mean? Yeah, he gave me a pretty intense. I don't know how many of you are here are writers, but when you fall in love with your characters and your story and your words and your dialogue, it's really hard for someone to say, okay, this is great, but change this, this, and this. And so he had I received a red line copy with 800 comments, plus 6 pages of think about this. And the final note, try to lose 15 to 20,000 words. And I was like, oh my God. So I told my husband I was going to kill myself, and that he could, from the notoriety alone, he should self-publish it and make all the money to put the kids through college. And I was like, because people want to know like about the book that made the author kill herself. But my friends in my writers group were like, don't be silly. This is what you do. You put it in a drawer for a month. You don't even think about it, which is what I did. But of course, I was still thinking. And then a month later, I took it out and was like, okay, I'm ready. And I was like, I wanted to get through it quickly. And then during this period, so I started writing it around Christmas of 2015 now. And in mid-December of 2015, I got an audition for the 50 Shades franchise to do a part during the second and third films. And then I booked it I found out, I think, in mid-January, and we were supposed to start shooting like the end of February. And I didn't want to go to set to do 50 Shades without reading the books, because I knew they were so huge in the romance community, and I wanted to do this character justice, and I wanted to do E.L. James justice, and I wanted to do my homework. But I didn't want to read her books until I finished writing mine, because I didn't want her writing to influence mine, her voice to influence mine.
So I was always happens.
Always happens. Yeah. So I was writing like really quickly to get it done. I think I finished it by the end of February. My agent really liked it. We sent it out, and I think within 2 weeks, that woman over there, my editor Elizabeth Byer from St. Martin's Press, bought it, and it happened like that. I mean, it happened so quickly, and now here we are with the movie. I mean, it's crazy.
And that's really such a publisher. I mean, there are a million ways to. You got the idea. From when?
So I was, goodness, okay. So it was March of 2014. My husband was away on a business trip. I was up late watching YouTube and going down a rabbit hole of watching just random music videos. And then I came across a music video with a really good looking guy. And I kind of like, it started like churning. It wasn't an idea. It was like, that's a really cute guy.
Yeah.
3 days later, I told my husband that I was going to leave him and the 2 kids, and I was going to run off with a guy in a band who was half my age. I mean, obviously kidding, because we're very happily married. But he laughed, and he's like, "You're crazy, but that would make a really great book." And as he said it, it clicked for me. He said, "What if it's a mom, divorced, maybe she's about 40, she's got a daughter who's obsessed with this boy band, and somehow she meets the band and has a relationship with one of the guys in the band. And then there's all this like built-in tension between, it's almost like a love triangle, because she loves her daughter and doesn't want to break her heart, but she falls in love with this guy. And that we were literally at a fundraiser in a friend's house in the kitchen talking about it, and I was like, it was coming to me so quickly, I couldn't wait for everything to be done and to go home and like start writing, because I just knew I had all these experiences, like I recently turned 40, and so I knew what that was like. And as an actress, when you turn 40, you notice that the parts that you are being submitted for become fewer and farther between, and they kind of write you off. Like, you're no longer this dynamic, incredible, powerful woman. They become you become like a shell of who you were in your 30s,
right?
According to Hollywood, it was kind of all the breakdowns I would get. Thing like 40, once attractive, now very tired.
Not once attractive.
Oh yeah, yes. 40, a little past her prime. Things like that. And I was kind of like, why do they think we shrivel up and die at 40? Because I still felt attractive. I was sexually active, obviously. I felt like I was no less than I was at 39.
Right.
And yet Hollywood kind of sees you as this kind of your power is dwindling because you're no longer youthful and beautiful and desirable to them. And so I wanted to rail against that and what it is to be 40 years old and a woman, coming into your power, coming into as a career person and as just as a human being, when the rest of the world is telling you you're no longer valuable. And so I really wanted to explore that. And then when I was in college, I started a company with a girlfriend of mine, and we were managing singing groups. And we got one of the guys from the New Kids on the Block to produce for our group. And so I got to know the New Kids, most of them, all of them really, but some of them better than others, fairly well during the time when they were still kind of at their height. And so I knew I could write the experience of being someone in a boy band because I'd spent so much time with them. I knew what that craziness and the chaos of a fandom was like, what it was like for them to be so isolated and to have to like, you know, you're going from hotel to hotel and you're in caravans. There are girls hiding in the stairwells. There are girls standing outside. There are girls hanging outside of your house in Boston. Like, there's girls, like, it was kind of crazy. And it was amazing to see what their lives were like and that they couldn't really escape that. And I wanted to write about that too, like the darker side of celebrity, because I think people have this idea that to be famous is like this incredible thing and like you must have so much power and you get like, you know, great tables at restaurants and like, you know, you fly first class and it's all wonderful, but I don't think they realize like all the ugliness beneath it and how what it is to lose your anonymity and to have to live this kind of isolated life, like having to kind of isolate yourself from the world just to feel normal, and that's not normal at all. So I really wanted to explore all of that. There you go.
So had this been lurking since your New Kids moment?
No, I mean, the New Kids were like, it wasn't all positive. A lot of what I saw made me think I didn't want to work in the music business anymore, and like I didn't. And this is during the age of like Puffy and all that, and there's a lot of sexism and everything. I just want to go on the record saying that Puffy was always very nice to me, and nothing bad happened there. But like, you're aware, like you're totally, you know, you especially as women in the industry. I was super, like, we had my partner and I were like, we had to look out for each other. We had a plan. It was like when things were turning, like you know, you take a meeting and then you're like, wait, is this a date or this a meeting? Like, there was just a lot of things that kind of like rubbed me the wrong way, and so I didn't want that for myself. I wouldn't want it for my daughters.
No.
But I knew that I could write a book and show both sides of it, sort of.
So, and you did beautifully. So there's this in Romancelandia, there's this whole idea of May-December romance, right? And then when it's an older woman and a younger man, a lot of the times it's called reverse age gap, reverse May-December, which is obnoxious.
Yes, totally.
Because why does
I don't know
the standard have to be an older man and a younger woman?
Exactly. Why is it reverse? Right.
Yeah. Were there any challenges that you faced writing a woman being 40 and falling in love with someone almost half her age?
In my head, no. In like when I would kind of like posit it to like, you know, people in my writers group or whatever, they you know, there's a little hesitation. They wanted me to make Hayes older, like, oh, can he be like 22, 23? I was like, no, he's gonna be 20. 20 is legal, but it's a little scandalous. And why, and you know, you take grit, like up the risk, like you don't want to, or heighten the stakes is what I really want to say. Heighten the stakes. You don't want to. So, Stephen King has written this incredible book called On Writing, which is like a guide to writing, which I've read twice now, and my issues like you have to. It's hard to find a sentence that's not underlined or highlighted. But one of the lines he says is, "Do not come lightly to the blank page." And I think about that all the time. Like, if I'm going to write a book about, like, oh, this woman who's, like, say, 40 and she dates a 35-year-old, he's, like, trying to make it in a band. Like her daughter's well-adjusted and she's 23 and out of house. Whatever it is, I'd be like, that's not, you know, like, that's not a story. If you're going to write the story, go for the story. And so I really wanted to heighten the stakes, make him young, make the daughter at an age that is super fragile. I think there's something about she starts off at 12. At 12, 13 if you guys remember what it was like to be that age, it's when you hate your parents, you fight with your mom, like everything they do is embarrassing, you don't want them to be around you, like nothing could be worse than like being seen in public with them. You know, it's the kind of thing like you can't drop them off right in front of school, or you have to go around the block and drop them off. Like whatever it is, they're so like resistant to be around us, and it's like that's the age she's gonna be when her mom starts sleeping with the guy in the poster above her bed.
Oh. Can you imagine? I mean that, oh my God, the tension. You know, I am such a firm believer in that as well. Like, stakes must be high.
That's why we do what we do.
That's the whole point. I mean, we're not going to write something that feels super grounded in reality.
And mundane. Like everyone else is living. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
like that's what makes it an exciting, thrilling gift,
Right.
I think, because it's pure escapism.
Yeah, I agree.
And not just the love story, but also the places.
Yes.
Where was your inspiration? Had you been to all of the places?
I've been to many of them, not all. And so that's over a lifetime of experiences and vacations. And like, what would be sexiest? And like, where can I use? And I wanted us to feel escapist in that way, but I also know how boy banders live in a certain way, and so they're, you know, you're on tour, you're doing publicity events, whatever, promotional events, you're constantly moving, and you're living out of your suitcase kind of thing. You know, they're this week they're in New York, next week they're in LA, they're doing this, and so I thought, oh, it would be really interesting if every chapter of the book is a different location, and so they're just meeting in random cities around the world over the course of a year, and part of it follows his toy bender schedule, and part of it follows her schedule. So she's a gallerist in the art world, and she's got this business that she started with her best friend and partner, Lulit Raphael, who's this gorgeous, glamorous Ethiopian woman, and Lulit comes up with this idea that they're going to start an art gallery, and they're only representing women and artists of color. And so their whole plan is to have this kind of like, you know, I don't want to call it DEI, because that was before DEI, but a DEI type of gallery. And it's very successful. And so they're in Paris, they're in Switzerland, they're in Miami, they're in New York. I mean, they're moving around with the art. The art world has certain fairs at certain times that go throughout the world. And it was like, it gave me all these locations. It was a gift once I chose what her profession was going to be. And then I could choose wherever I wanted to put him on tour and just kind of go with it. And so I did that, and I did a blend of places I knew, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was lovely to kind of spend, as I was writing it, because as I said, it was like in real time, I spent each month in my head in a different location.
Oh, it's so dreamy. But you didn't go, right?
I didn't visit anything, I think, in real time, but after, when the book was done, and between sending it off to my agent and then actually the book going to print at St. Martin's Press, I was able to go back and like do some fact checking.
Oh,
So like I went back to Anguilla. We'd gone to Anguilla for our anniversary, but I went back to Anguilla to check the color of the sky at sunrise as you're facing St. Martin, like things like that, yeah. And then I found, there's this villa that I found online where they are in Anguilla, and I described it like almost perfectly. And we went back, and we're driving around the island, and I kind of had a feel for where the villa's gonna be, and I was like, I think it's up here, can we go up here? And it happened to be changing day at the villas, so the housekeepers let us in, and I could walk through the space and be like, oh my gosh, this is where he first tells her he loves her, and like it was really incredible. And I could fact check that way because I'd had them seen when they were in the jacuzzi, and I got there and there's no jacuzzi, and I'm like, oh, okay, we have to change that. We're just put them on the steps by the pool. There's no jacuzzi. And I was like, no one knows. Like, no one's gonna really go and be like, Robin Lee, I don't know about that because there's not a jacuzzi here. But to me, that stuff was important.
of course.
And so I was able to go back and do that. And there's a hotel where they first, I don't want to give too much away. There's a hotel where they're in the south of France where they go to, and I had to check whether or not they had key cards or actual keys, and like things like that, like going into the Hotel Martinez and be like, excusez-moi, votre clé ici, vous avez une carte ou une clé? Like it was really but like literally, because that was important, because there's a scene when they're about to go in the hotel room and she's about to open the door and he stops her, like I think takes the key card out of her hand, whatever,
Yeah.
and he says like full disclosure, and I went, full disclosure. I won't go into my Hayes accent. I won't give you the exact line, but it was important to me to know what kind of key was in each hotel.
And then it feels more authentic to you.
For me,
Which helps with the writing as well,
Absolutely.
because it's real. It's
Yes.
like an actual,
Yes.
that's a key card. I love it.
And then I had to like the Crosby Street Hotel was one of the first locations, and that one I had to call like and talk to some of the concierge. I was like, can you just describe this room for me? Like, just double checking that that's a suite and not a. Okay, thank you.
Right.
Yeah,
Oh, it's such a gorgeous hotel and fabulous.
this
thing.
is a great location.
And I think that all of these, okay, 5. These really visceral details are part of what has given this book its legs. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just a perennial favorite. It's 2017, right?
2017.
Yeah. What do you think, why do you think it's been such, it's never really fallen out of, bestsellers lists? Like, everyone loves it.
I think it was like the little engine that could. It didn't get a big launch. So it was kind of a small out the gate, but I really felt like it had the potential to be something big. And I know as a reader how much, when I was younger, before social media, I would have done anything to engage with my favorite authors. Like if I could have reached out to like Judy Blume or like, that would have been amazing at the time. But we didn't have that. And so being an author in the time of social media, I thought if anyone reaches out to me, I'm going to respond. And so I was really, really good about responding to anytime I was tagged or tweeted or DM'd or message requests. Like I respond to everyone who'd read the book or who is curious about the book and encourage them, tell your friend, have it for your book club, whatever. And I did book club. I drove to book clubs of strangers. And then during the pandemic especially, I did so many Zoom events. I said no to nothing, like podcasts, interviews for people's little blogs. It's just word of mouth. And I really felt like there were days that I was selling one book a day. Like I'm on Instagram just like, read my book. And I knew that eventually, like with word of mouth, it would start to snowball, and it really happened during the pandemic. I think I had a captured audience. People were looking for a way to escape, and there's obviously a way to travel in my book, since we could not do it in reality, and that's kind of like when it clinched, and then I got a big write-up in Vogue magazine by this writer or journalist, whatever, writer, Michelle Ruiz, and she found me through you.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like, how did it first happen? She wrote an article.
I was in a piece she was doing a roundup about women in their 40s who still are, participate in fandoms.
Ah, okay, yes.
And then she found you, she found your book through me, and then she read it and she was like, give me this woman's number.
Yes.
And that's how it happened.
You're like, can I get? I was like, sure. And I think that it really started happening then. And then by then the book had been optioned, and Anne Hathaway had signed on to play the role of Solène, and so there was like momentum, and just continued to grow.
Yeah, social media is annoying, but it has its upsides. Definitely. Try, it's just especially if you're an author or writer or a singer, you can engage in real time with your audience, which is the coolest thing. You have your Facebook group, we have book talk, like doing the Lord's work.
Right.
It's really,
but also it leaves you exposed, right? And
it does.
To me, the best thing about writing, I say over and over again, the best thing about writing this book is meeting my readers and getting to know other women. And so many of my readers tell them, because I have a private Facebook group, and they've met other people through the group, like these three right here. That the book has been a gift because it's brought other people into their lives and relationships in their lives and
travel,
and concerts of cute boys, and it's been like this. It's like it becomes a family, in a way, and so I love that. But then also I'm super aware that you know, you get tagged and you get DMs, and not all of it's favorable, not all of it's polite, and that can be, you know, daunting and depressing and upsetting
and rude,
frankly. And there are days that I can take it as dismissed, and there are days like I can't take it. It's like, I don't know why you can get 100 people can tell you how much they love your book, and then one person tells you they don't, and that voice stays with you for like way too long.
Yeah, that's all you hear.
Yeah.
Okay, I know we have like 5 seconds, but can we just talk about the adaptation really fast?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Debut on Thursday, May 2nd.
Yes.
It will be the global premiere of the film Adaptation, starring Anne Hathaway and Nicholas Galitzine.
On Amazon.
On Prime Video. Everyone watch it. Also, if you do any posts tonight, hashtag the idea of you. How do you feel about all of this? I mean, in your wildest dreams, did you ever?
No. I mean, last night was our premiere, and I was on the red carpet, or it was like a lavender carpet, I suppose. And I'm looking down, and it's like Nicholas and Annie, and I can't remember who else was down there, and a swarm of. I mean, I've done multiple red carpets. I've been acting for a while, but the idea that. And then I go into the theater, and I don't know how many people have theater seats. It was jazz at Lincoln Center, and there was 1,500 or something like that. I think someone can correct me if I'm wrong. But to know that all these people were here because of me, because of that conversation Eric and I had in our friend's kitchen, is just like, it boggles the mind. And someone told me last night, and I can't remember who it was. It might have, was it my agent? Was it my agent? I don't remember who it was. It was a man. But he told me, I'm the kind of person that stays at the end of movies to watch credits. And he said, and he mentioned that, and he's like, I'm the kind of person. I was like, oh, so am I. And he says, when you watch all those credits and all those names, like over 100 names go by, do you realize that all those people got a job because of you?
Exactly.
Exactly. It's like,
The silver lining, baby.
Yes.
Absolute silver lining.
So it's kind of like, it's overwhelming to think about it that way.
And when you were writing, last question, then I'm going to turn it over to the audience. Did you have anyone in mind? Like when you, like your Pinterest board was full.
My Pinterest board was full, but it wasn't, I just took my earring out. It wasn't of people, like actors that I could see playing the role, so much as people with an essence or a vibe to help me write my characters, right? And like it changed depending on what scene I was writing, like what I needed from that character in that scene. I'd be looking for things. It's the way I look for art. I'm looking, sometimes there are people you would recognize, sometimes they wouldn't, but there'd be an expression on someone's face, and it would be enough to kind of like pull me in. There'd be an outfit someone was wearing that would be something like a dress, and like I have entire scenes built from like a dress. Like I was like, oh, she's got to wear that somewhere. Okay, what's gonna happen? The Grammys. Okay, what do they do after the Grammys? Like, I mean, it was like it was the sexiest outfit I'd ever seen. It's Balenciaga number. But anyway, so there wasn't one actor I had in mind to play either of them. I feel like Solène could have been played by a bunch of different actresses.
Brunette ones.
I saw her as a brunette for sure, like a darker skin, like olive colored. I wanted olive colored skin, dark hair, dark eyes, darker features. But you know, I'm sure there could have been a more fair actress or an Asian actor, whatever, who could have played it well. But I knew that whoever played it just had to she's gonna have to make it her own, which is what Annie does, and she does an extraordinary job. She's not who I would have pictured, but she's still like inhabits the role fully and commits in a way emotionally that just, you know, it brings tears to your eyes. And it's extraordinary to see an actress of that caliber take this role so seriously and give so much of herself to the character and to the part. And she was wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And I'm happy with her. Like she's amazing, and she's a fan of the book, which is really all you can ask for.
So nice.
And with Hayes' character, I really didn't have anyone in mind because I didn't think anyone was going to be able to capture everything I needed from him. and be a really good, like he had to be able to sing, he had to be able to play piano, like instruments, you know what I mean? He had to be charming and sexy and British and like, and confident and like, have a great smile. Like there's so many things that like Hayes was to me that I couldn't think of anyone who was known to play him, and I thought he's gonna have to be someone we find.
Right. Discovery.
And you know, when I was writing Hayes, Nicholas wasn't, I don't know if he was even acting.
I don't think
you
so.
know,
Yeah.
And they found him in Nicholas, and he's not really entirely Hayes to me, but he is Hayes, you know.
And he can
He's his own person,
sing.
and he
That's
can
his
sing.
actual voice.
He can sing. He
killed
sings
it.
on all the songs. He plays his own. He plays guitar and piano. He's British. He's charming. He's tall.
The rising
He's
star.
cute. He's a rising star, and he acts really well. Like he's like crying, emotional, passionate, sexy. Like he's all the things Hayes needs to be, and he fills the shoes.
Yeah. And you can't ask for much more.
No,
as
you
an
can't. And,
author.
and their chemistry together is electric. Like, and that's a lot of times you get like really beautiful people and you put them together and it's like they're like two cold fish, you know. But they are not. Like they are really hot together on camera, and you can feel it even when they're not on camera. Like they just get along. I mean, not on camera. They're not actually in the roles of Solène and Hayes. You can feel that they like each other and they get along well. And it's really hard as an actor to click with someone that well and then be able to pull off the chemistry and then like go back and just like be really good friends.
Right. Yeah,
And
I
I feel
feel
like they
about
do
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well.
There are stories.